Hey, it's Aaron with the Wealthy Environmental Center. Today I thought we would do a water engineering craft. And after the craft, we'll go take a look around the neighborhood and see why the craft is important. But if you just want to do the craft with me, let's get going. So, to do our craft today, you'll need some straws, a TV dinner tray or something that will hold water that kind of looks like this, a fruit cup, and some empty water bottles. All right, here we go. We are going to put together a water retention system, doing a little bit of water engineering here. All right, let's take a look at step number one. All right, step number one is we're going to take our retention pond right here. That's what this little piece of plastic food tray thing is going to be. It's going to be our retention pond. What that means is that when it rains really hard and all of the water is coming off roofs and off streets, then it has to go somewhere, and that can overwhelm our streams and rivers. So we want to retain some locally so that doesn't happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to create holes in here for the water to get in. So I'm going to take my scissors and just at one end poke a hole here. And that sounds easier than it actually really is. So I'll show you the finished product here in just a second. All right, we've got a small little hole in the end of our retention pond. And I'm going to take a storm drain, which that's this. Here's the tubing or the pipes that you find in the ground that is going to move our storm water. I'm going to just pinch the end of the straw and insert it into our retention pond. And if you go around the retention ponds around Beloit, you'll see that they look just like this. You'll see a retention pond, and you'll see a little pipe from a storm drain sticking out into it. That's collecting runoff rainwater. All right, now we want to do the exact same thing to another side or the end, because we want water to then be able to exit our retention pond and go back into our streams and water. So I'll show you that in a second. Okay, here we have our retention pond. We have a way for the stormwater to get in, a way for the stormwater to get out, and one of my favorite retention ponds has a excess water helper or a second retention pond. So I added another straw here for overflow events, and that's what our fruit cup is for. So I'm going to connect our pond, our retention pond, to a additional storm drain runoff retention pond for just such occasions of flooding. And again, it is easier said than done. You really got to pinch that straw before inserting it into the cup. And so here we have some engineering going on. And we have our retention pond and our secondary retention pond in case of flooding. So our next step is to create a way for the water to get into our retention pond. And so I started with one of these bottles, and we need to make something that mimics a culvert, the grates that you see at the corners of streets. And so I took my scissors and I cut one of the sides off of this bottle. That's how our water is going to enter in. And then I poked a hole in the end of our cap. Again, I'm going to take and pinch our straw and insert it into our culvert so that the water has somewhere to go and a way to get into our retention pond. Our final step before we add water is to have a way for our water to make it back into a stream. And so that's what we have here today. I have another clear bottle, and this is going to represent our stream. And again, I put a hole in the cap here, and I'm going to insert the straw. Now we have built a retention pond system here. The water is going to enter in through our culvert, and it is going to flow through the pipes to our retention pond, and as our retention pond fills, it will go into our stream. Now if our retention pond begins to overfill, the water can move into the secondary retention system. So let's watch and find out what happens when we add some water. So now let's test our system. You will notice that I did take a moment and elevate some of our individual parts of our system. Water likes to run downhill. Water will not run against equal pressure. So let's see what happens when we make it rain into our culvert. Here we go. And you can see that the water is running into our retention pond. Let's add a little bit more water here to our culvert. And let's check out our retention system. All right, I would recommend doing this outside because it is kind of messy. And you can see here that we have had water enter into our overflow and here into our stream. There we go. All right, it's working. It's a little bit drippy. You know, I didn't seal all of my moving pieces. But we had water enter into our culvert, move along the pipes to our retention pond, move into our overflow retention pond, and into our stream. So here we are at the corner of a street, and we can see that we have a storm grate. Many storm grates take water to a water treatment facility. Some water grates take their water straight to streams or retention ponds. When it rains really hard, streets and tops of buildings and even yards become tributaries that bring water to storm drains at the corner of streets. So it's important for us to find a way to retain some of this water locally and keep all of this runoff water from overwhelming and flooding our streams. As promised, I'm going to show you a couple of my favorite water features here in Beloit, Wisconsin, designed to retain stormwater and keep excess water out of a couple of our smaller streams to reduce flooding. All right, where I'm located right now is over behind Central Christian and in front of DuPont. I'm going to show you a couple of water features that I really enjoy. All right, so here you can see DuPont over there in the background, and here is this really nice retention pond. And as you can see, the water's nice and clear, and we have birds flying around. I don't know if you can see the one there in the tree. I think you can. And some nice growth around it. This takes water from all of these roads and the grassland up here, and the runoff water comes down into the pond instead of washing directly over into our rivers, reducing flood. Now, I talked about those pipes in our craft. Well, here is the grate, and as you can see here, it says dump no waste, drains to rivers. Well, this one has a very short pipe, and it comes out over here. And right now it looks like the water is high enough that we're not actually able to see the pipe, but I know that it's right down there. I can see just the top of it. All right, we're gonna go check out a couple more. This one is over behind Fruzen Intermediate School. And as you can see, there's no water in it right now. But let's check out how this works, because it works just like the craft that we put together. Over here, you can see that we have a pipe, and that pipe is bringing storm water into this basin here, where the water gets stored so that it doesn't immediately run off into our streams. And then over here, we have our overflow pipe, and if we look down into it, we can see that the water, when it flows into this area, it will go into this pipe and over into other storage areas. We're going to go check out one more retention pond. This one is behind the Cancer Center, just to the side of Fruzen. And as you can see again here, there's no storm water in it. But this one is really interesting. It has two tiers. Over there, you can see that the first tier has two pipes coming into the stormwater retention area, but then it has this larger area over here. In case of massive flooding, the water will come in through those pipes and be retained in this area, reducing the flooding on our local rivers. Well, I hope that that answered a little bit of the question of where does all of our rainwater go? Well, it runs off of our roofs, it runs down the streets and over our lawns and into culverts, and those culverts then take them to retention ponds or water treatment plants before ending up into our streams and other waterways. All right, I hope that you give the craft a try. It was a lot of fun, but again, remember, it is a little bit messy, so maybe do that one outside. All right, until next time.